Hey gang, Chuck Skull here. My buddy Larry's Vinyl Rock Source place to go if you're looking for hard-to-find albums or CDs. This month coming out, he has Bob Dylan, the complete album collection box set on CD, November 5th. The Beatles, On Air Live at the BBC, Volume 2, on CD and LP, November 11th. Black Sabbath, Gathered in Their Masses, DVD, on November 22nd. And also, gang, for all you Velvet Underground Lou Reed fans, Larry has a lot of their stuff in stock right now. And remember, Larry's a collector as well, so he doesn't charge collector's prices. Check out Larry's eBay store, Vinyl Rock Source Mail Order, his Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Vinyl Rock Source Mail Order. Like the page, tell them the Wacko Network sent you.
Pride.
Hey, this is Rex Scott of the band X Sinner. I don't need to tell you how much porn dominates the internet. It is so spiritually destructive, and it's easy to get hooked, but there is a way out. Log on to the #1 Christian porn site, XXXchurch.com, and download free accountability software. Or get involved with XXX Church's online recovery support, XXXchurch.com. Say no to the bunny and become an X Sinner.
In another time, in another All right, and now the moment you've all been waiting for. Pastor Bob Beeman, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Kat. It's great to be here. And by the way, you're playing some great music there.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, Jim, from the bass player for Barren Cross, has been my worship leader now for, I guess, 27 years. We started with Michael Sweet. He was the first worship leader from Stryper, and then when Stryper got so busy, Jim took over, and even when they got busy, he's continued and lives about a mile from me now. So, but Barren Cross is a great band. I'm glad you're doing good music there.
Oh, definitely. You know, and I'm very big on getting whatever I can with the Christian music out there and everything, mainly the Christian rock and everything. And to a lot of people that find out that a Christian owns, a variety/current event show and is not doing what they would like to call praise and worship, you know, it kind of gets under their skin a little bit, but you know, I try not to let it bother me and everything, but you know, I love playing it, you know, and that's the big thing. And for a lot of people that don't know you out there that have just recently saw your videos and everything, who've been looking this up and everything, why don't you tell them a little bit about you and everything?
Well, that's a big order.
I was going to say a little bit about you, Pastor Bob Beeman. There's a lot.
Well, you know, I'm an old guy at this point. I'm almost 62. I guess I'm considered a senior citizen. But you know, I'm trying to stay 21 as long as possible. This last year I celebrated the 40th anniversary of my 21st birthday, and I'm just kind of staying there. But, you know, thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all day. You know, I've been a Christian now for 56 years, and that's the best number. And it's been a great time, and 42 years of my life I've spent in pioneering Christian rock and Christian metal, working with some great people as we've been able to bring some really good music to the masses, and that's really been the joy of my life for a lot of years now. We started Sanctuary, which is a ministry to the heavy metal crowd. Let's see, we're almost 30 years old, 29 years old now. And as I said, you know, we started with the Stryper crowd and the Barren Cross crowd, and we could name a whole bunch of bands that have come out of the church. But you know, it's been a wonderful process, and these days, Sanctuary's in about 19 countries, I believe, and a whole lot of bands, and the music has changed in style a little bit. Metal isn't what it used to be in the 80s, and some of that's a good thing. It's progressing all the time. And so these days, I do a lot of speaking at all of our festivals around the world, and then I do, and Kat, you and I were talking before we went on the air about my podcasts. That's been a real passion the last few years, being able to have a few minutes of someone's time every single day has been a huge blessing to me. And so that's kind of Pastor Bob in a nutshell.
Well, it's been a blessing to us, and you've been a blessing to us. And I just want to, I hope I didn't step over you there by saying that there's one particular thing that you didn't mention that, if I can throw it in there, about
Sure.
The Bridge Bunch.
Yes.
The Jefferson Street Bridge Bunch.
Oh, I would love to talk about that, Kat. Thank you.
Because it's also a passion of mine that I help what you call houseless friends. I love the way you say houseless friends and not the quote-unquote homeless people. I like the way that you say houseless friends because it's my passion, too, as well, that I love to help people that are not with domicile. And it's not just single people anymore. They're so stereotyped, if you will. It's families now that are out there. And I commend you because it really, can I say the word, it irks me that this country is, we need to help these people because we're too busy getting in every frivolously spending money on other things and not helping these people.
Well, sometimes we throw money at things instead of getting involved ourselves, don't we? And I totally agree.
You know where I'm going with that?
I do. And Kat, I think it's so great that you have a heart for the same thing. You know, when you said that the face of the homeless have changed, it's changed a lot today. You couldn't be more correct. And when we first started working with homeless a few years back, there were a lot of people who were homeless that chose to be homeless. A lot of people that fit a certain stereotype of either an alcoholic or a person who had mental difficulties or whatever it might be. But, you know, our economy has changed since then, and a lot of people these days are simply a victim of our economy. And so we have, I've got a lot of little grandmothers, you know, that come. I have one that comes with a walker, and she lives in a tent. I have families. We have a family of 6 that eat with us every week on Sundays. We serve more than just one day, but they eat with us one day a week. And we've just got so many different kinds of people, and a lot of young people, a lot of, you know, early 20s, people that just, you know, the difference, Kat, between us and them, if I can use those words, you know, most of us have family that we can go to if anything bad happens. If we lose it financially or lose it emotionally or whatever's going on with us, we have family that'll help us pick up the pieces. But that's the thing that separates us from a lot of people who are on the streets. They simply don't have a support group to rely on. And
exactly.
So that's the reason we call them houseless. Because when I grab the microphone and I greet the people and we pray for our food and we spend a little time together, I always say, you know, welcome home, because home is where the heart is, and we really have a heart for you. You know, you're our friends, and we've established a relationship, and we want people to feel like, you know, that we are that family that can be a support group. So it really becomes more than just food, and we're serving about 4,700 meals a month right now, but and I'm excited that, you know, that God has been faithful in doing that. But even more than that, it's about the relationships. But thank you for asking. I'll tell you, that's just a ministry that's near and dear to my heart.
Well, it really, really, when I saw that on your website, and I just absolutely, it practically put tears in my eyes, because I was like, this man is, he's incredible. You are incredible.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And may I mention also that you accept donations of all kinds, including PayPal as well. Well, I just said it. So there you go.
Thank you. All right.
There you go. To help keep this going because like I said, it's a cause that I truly believe in as well, and because nobody should be without a meal, a home, and friends and family, and I really believe that.
Absolutely.
So I commend you immensely.
Thank you, Kat. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. So I want to make sure I touched on that.
Well, I do know there is a sanctuary in there is a sanctuary that is in I should say I'm trying to think of it here in Tampa, which is I believe the closest one to you, Kat, which is I don't know if Kit Carl still runs it or not, but I do know there is a sanctuary church out there in the Tampa St. Pete area. There was 1992 when I was out there with Pastor Kit Carl. So
sure.
It's definitely one to check out because and I like the way you got it set up. Church service doesn't start until 2:00 in the afternoon, and it's definitely made for those. And I don't like using the terminology these days. The Christian rockers who go out to the nightclubs and have to perform, and they get the Christians supporting them. And I really don't like using the term Christian these days. Christian really has almost become, for lack of a better word, a bad word and everything. Because of how Christians have different ways of making the description of a Christian, and a lot of them just simply call themselves Jesus followers now, and I actually like that one now, and I like that terminology a lot better and everything because of what's happened there. But to get back on point here, to have service at 2:00 in the afternoon is definitely something because you'll find people that just simply don't want to wake up early on Sunday morning, and they'll just they'll just go right out there at 2:00 just to have a service, and I think it's great. I think it's
well, and it's different everywhere. There are some that still do 2:00 in the afternoon, and we have some that are more of a church service, but most of Sanctuary around the world is cell groups. Many of them meet in the evenings. We have a group in Branson actually that meets at midnight because a lot of the people are involved with all the shows around Branson, and so that's the most convenient time for people to get together. So it just depends upon the group and exactly what they're doing. They meet in homes, they meet in pubs, they meet in parks, they meet in, whatever. The greatest thing about the church is that, obviously church doesn't mean building, it means people. And you can really just get together wherever and have church, where believers come together and celebrate their faith.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you there on that one. One of the things you talk about on your video and everything is on your videos and everything. You've had to do a lot of different talk about Christian music and why a lot of it gets it really gets a bad rap. Primarily Christian rock and Christian heavy metal. Really, all of CCM really does. But you really bring up, you really talk about this in a big way, and you say one thing: we need to get out of being called Christian music and secular music, and it all just needs to be one with music. And I absolutely agree with you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And my big question is, when you primarily get this about music, and everything, how does that really tug on your heart to really give a correct answer and everything to the people who do ask these questions that may want to still feel good about listening to not just some of their Christian music, but even some of their secular music as well too. Right.
Well, Bob, you've definitely pushed the passion button because that's really what I feel strongly about. Like probably you and Kat and all of your listeners, music is a big part of our lives. and I feel passionate about the kinds of music that I enjoy because it's so much a part of my life. You know, I get in my car and I turn it on. I wake up in the morning and I turn something on. I fall asleep usually listening to some good music. And then during the day, you know, there are times when depending on my mood, I listen to a lot of different styles of music. But music is really a big part of our lives, both emotionally and spiritually. So I think it bears at least some conversation and some perspective. Now, one of the problems that I think we have with understanding musical style is that we keep thinking that Christianity has a style, and it doesn't. Christianity has no style. If you want to really get technical, then we probably have to go back to the New Testament. And if you look at the New Testament church, they were wearing robes and long hair. So if there is ever a model for a New Testament church today, it would be robes and long hair. If you want to talk about music of the day, you're going to talk about some very specific instruments that are outlined in Psalm 150 that are very primitive and a whole lot different than what we have today. Certainly not a church organ or a piano. So to talk about the style of music in a church as opposed to secular music is really almost a moot issue. It really, again, Christian music, and Christianity doesn't have a style, but it has a purpose. It has a focus. The focus is Jesus Christ, and the purpose is the gospel message being brought to the ends of the earth. And so when we look at the purpose of Christian music, quote unquote, we realize that it is twofold. You know, the Bible talks about in Psalms, it talks about celebration and it talks about worship. And worship was something that was done when they quieted their hearts and they began to sing about God in a very personal way. Celebration, like Psalm 150, is where they're making a lot of noise and they're celebrating their faith. Now, one of the great things about the diversity that I enjoy in Christianity is that no matter what kind of music you personally enjoy, everybody can come together and worship. I can stand, you know, by a 15-year-old and a 90-year-old person, and we can all sing the same song to the same Savior that we all have a relationship with. But when it comes to celebration, that's where things get a little more tacky.
Believe
me, because there's some of us that enjoy heavy metal. There's some people, God bless them, that enjoy country western. You know, there are all of these different styles of music that people use in celebration, and that's the diversity of the church. But to say that something is Christian or non-Christian, or acceptable Christian music and unacceptable Christian music really gets into semantics. But, Bob, you talked about this whole idea of secular versus Christian, and I really would love to chat about that for a minute because,
Absolutely.
You know, there are some wonderful people doing quote-unquote secular music these days. My good friend Dave Ellefson, for instance, you know, is the bass player for Megadeth. And, you know, Megadeth, according to a lot of Christians, would probably be on the don't listen to list for a lot of people. And yet, you know, the two Daves in the band are both Christians. Dave Ellefson is also the worship leader in his church. Very few people know that. But, you know, you're going to find a whole lot of people in secular music, you know, Nico from Iron Maiden, et cetera, people that dearly love the Lord and see their ministry, you know, in the music that they do in a secular arena as well. So, you know, that's the whole thing. It's really when we try to put things in a category of either Christian or non-Christian, we have to get very specific about, what is Christian and what is non-Christian. And, I think those lines are very blurred these days. And I'm not so sure that they really, I think music ought to be music based on its lyrical content and how good the band is. I enjoy listening to good music, and I don't enjoy listening to music that isn't done very well. And usually when people ask me what kind of music I like the best, I always tell them I like good music. Because I can listen to almost any style of music as long as it's done well. And but when music is done poorly, it almost doesn't matter what style it is. It's just not good music. So these days, I think we've also put Christian music up on a pedestal where we say it's all good. And there's a lot of great Christian music out there where people are playing very skillfully. You just play Barren Cross, and I really believe they're a very skillful band, a very good band. But then I can name 10 more quickly who I think shouldn't be recording because they're not very good. And some people would say that's blasphemy. I just say, it just hurts my ears. I like good music. So I think you find the good and the bad in everything. But to make those distinctions really put us in another box. And, I think it's that box. And Kat, we were talking about the homeless a few minutes ago. But I think whenever we get in a box and we say this is what these people look like, this is what they act like, we're surprised when people are outside of that box. And that's true for the homeless. It's also true for music.
Right.
We put things in a box and we stop being creative. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Really, to be honest with you, and a lot of what people try to say is Christian music, and I'm doing my best not to name drop here with this one and everything too, because I can name a few people that I've heard, and I've even talked to you on Skype where one in particular goes and everything too, but they say they'd love to go to the book of Colossians 3:16 and say that you to sing unto the Lord with psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. And I said this to them, I said, well, that's not describing what Christian music is. The Bible does not describe what's Christian and what's not as far as the style of music.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one point I really run with, and for me, especially, I think a lot of people, really get turned off when they see someone like this being, and I'll use lack of a better word, extremely judgmental about it, and for the most part, I don't, I know what they're describing as music, and a lot of people like it, so I don't knock that either, or anything like that. So I mean, it's just different strokes for different folks. Is really what the best way I could describe it.
Well, and I think that's true, Bob. All of us like a certain style of music because we're passionate about that music. And I think, I live in Nashville, and I'm surrounded by country music. And honestly, if we were to make a list of all of our musical tastes, my list would have country music on the bottom of the list. It's definitely not my favorite kind of music. But, I appreciate the fact that there are some really good musicians out there in country music. And I have some good friends that play in some very famous country bands. But, it doesn't really do anything for me personally. And, in fact, when I hear Christian country music, I have a really difficult time understanding how God can ever use it. Mostly because I don't like it, So I get that, I think because we're passionate about certain kinds of music, we kind of feel like everybody should be as well. And from that perspective, that would be true. The problem, though, is that, the Bible doesn't talk about a style of music, but Bob, to get back to your comment there, it does talk about the passion of music. And that's what David's trying to get across in the Psalms. It's the heart of music. It's the passion of it. And very honestly, I don't know more passionate people in music than the heavy metal crowd, honestly. Passionate about the music, passionate about, not only the music itself, but the lyrical content. And when you put that together in a Christian arena with Christian metalheads, they're passionate. And, I have the opportunity to travel around the world a lot. And I see metalheads in every country and every language, and they're all the same. They're all passionate. They all love the Lord, and they're passionate about their faith. And I love seeing that, but it kind of goes against what some people would like to believe about musical style dictating the depth of your relationship with God.
No, I totally agree with you there on that one. Wholeheartedly too, and and I do know Kat does have a few more things she definitely wants to get into, and definitely going to let her do it. And and what I've seen you talk about and everything, I do agree with you. It seems like the metalheads are the most passionate and everything too, because it's just
extroversion, if you will, extroverted people, and not afraid to express their.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not it's not a mainstream music, at least not in the United States at this point. And so because of that, I think they kind of fight for the musical style and for the opportunity to play the music as well.
Yeah. I do know one person that was in a Christian thrash group and everything, Roger Martinez from the group Vengeance Rising, and a lot of people never knew that he himself was a pastor himself. So, I mean, a lot of people never knew that. I don't know what Roger Martinez is doing today. I don't know if you have any information out there. I do know that he did have a few problems. I don't know if it's worth talking about on the air or not, but bottom line is I know that he was a pastor too, and he did take the time to go on a lot of, before DVDs came out, a lot of different secular thrash metal videos explaining the band and explaining the concept of his music and everything. And he was right there, and he didn't hide, his faith. He definitely didn't hide, which was again, I thought was a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and those days were really passionate days, the beginnings of Vengeance and the beginnings of a lot of the bands, I mean, a lot of the bands that came out of Sanctuary. I love that still today, that passion is there, that enthusiasm is there, and, the love for the music and the Lord at the same time. And you're right, it's a little different than most styles of music because, obviously it's not what we'd call mood music, where you sit down and you relax. It pretty much demands that you get involved and that your passions and your emotions are stirred as a result.
Definitely. And Kat, get your questions in there, Kat. We do have another 23 minutes left in the show, so why don't you go with the next question, Kat?
Okay. The Getting Naked with Pastor Bob.
Now there's a visual, isn't it?
Would you like to tell? There's a play on words there.
Yeah, and we sure hope so, don't we, Kat?
Yes, we do.
It's it's a podcast that I did a few years ago, and I haven't really done any updates on that one in a while. But I just wanted.
I have a two-part question for that, but go ahead.
Okay.
I didn't
sure.
interrupt you.
Well, that's okay.
Getting Naked with Pastor Bob, and it's a stripping away of religion to find God. And I noticed that, yes, I did a little research on it. I noticed the podcasts are a few years old. But do you have any plans to bring it back?
Well, there's some podcasts that I've done, some series that I've done that I kind of feel like I've accomplished what I set out to do with it. And, Kat, I really think that's probably one of them. I just wanted to be very raw with that one and talk about some issues from my heart, just kind of be very transparent in some of the discussions on a few subjects. And so that's really what I did in that series. You know, I try to do a lot of that these days in my Pastor Bob Daily podcast. And, of course, I'm trying to get more video than audio these days. So the video one does that. There's one podcast that probably will take over from that one more than anything, and that's one that I've done a lot of episodes on called Starbucks Confessional. And on there,
and I saw that
on there
as well.
Yes. A variety of things that are similar and talking about, you know, it's kind of that raw, transparent thing that we can all talk, and I usually have a different guest each time. We talked about Dave Ellison from Megadeth. There's others that are on there. We're just, you know, talk about their faith, talk about where they're at, and just an opportunity to be transparent in the same way. So, and then I've got some surprises in the future. We're going to be doing some new podcasting along with Pastor Bob Daily that I'm not quite ready to announce yet, Kat, but we've got some great things coming up too.
I just saw that, and I just oh, that just so I was like, yay.
That's great.
But yeah, you are just a wonderful man, and again, I just so commend you for everything that you do, because if I were to become ordained, I have a saying of my own that I always say, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. That's it. When I grow up, I want to be just like you, Pastor Bob.
Well, bless your heart. And if you walk in my shoes for a while, I don't think you'd say that, but I appreciate it.
I mean, it just, it almost feels like these notes that I took on about you. I think I'm going to tear them up, because I feel like I can talk to you like about pretty much about everything.
Well,
like we're on the same.
Absolutely.
We're on the same page, and I don't need these pages about these notes.
That'd be great, sure.
The other thing I wanted to know is, when, as a child or growing up, when was it that you felt like you had your calling?
Well, you know, I became a Christian when I was 5, like I said, and I felt like God was calling me to be a pastor when I was 6, just a year later. And my parents really felt the same way, and they raised me accordingly all these years, not in any kind of a restrictive way, but just with the great opportunity to serve the Lord. You know, Kat, we would go to church on Sunday, and I'd come home to church again for the family. You know, I would lead the music, and then I would have a little sermon and do the whole thing, even at 6 years old. And you know, it's been something that's really been in my heart ever since. And I really love the church. I need to tell you that as well. You know, I was brought up in a little country church in Montana. I started playing the piano for church when I was 12 years old, and my mom played the organ. And those are some of the best memories that I have. And my comfort zone, really, as far as church is concerned, is sitting in that little country church with, you know, with those people that I grew up with, you know, worshiping the Lord together. And I still have a huge passion for the hymns, and I still love that kind of camaraderie and that kind of fellowship. But I also see problems too, and I realize there are a lot of different ways to celebrate our faith these days. But those are early great memories, and And that's when I started at 6 years old.
I mean, because it's just
Wow.
that's just amazing. I mean, to be called to at such a young age, and to go for it, you know, and it just wow. I'm just getting chills.
Well, you know, it's been great that way, and I think that, you know, all of us walk a little different path. And Kat, what's good for one person is not necessarily good for another. And you know, for me, it was getting established in the faith and starting kind of early. Let me tell you another little story, if I can, real quick.
Oh, please do.
I said I grew up on a farm, and I grew up on a wheat farm in Montana. And one of the jobs that I had to do growing up was driving the tractor. And it wasn't my favorite thing to do. And my dad learned really quickly that the way to get me to drive the tractor was to put a huge loud radio on the tractor that I could listen to rock and roll with, and then I'd be fine. So I had this, you know, in those days there wasn't the headphones and all the things that people use these days. It was just a loud, huge, loud, blaring radio that was made for tractors. and I remember listening to rock and roll one day, and this song came over the airwaves called Jesus Is Just All Right With Me by the Doobie Brothers.
Right, I remember that song.
And I freaked out, you know, because I'd never considered the fact that rock and roll music could talk about Jesus. And I knew as soon as I heard that it was going to be a passion and that it was going to be a direction for me. And, you know, it was funny, when I got home that night, my dad said, "What were you doing today?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "All of your rows are really crooked." Your mind wasn't on driving, was it? You know? But that's really where it started, Kat, and that's when I got excited about that part of it, and you know, it's when I decided to devote my life to Christian rock, whatever that meant, and then I would later, you know, meet, Larry Norman and a lot of the early guys, and we'd begin to work together on Christian rock and roll. But you know, it's those kinds of beginnings where you know God has a part in it. You know He calls you. He sparks that desire in your heart, and you go with it. And now all these years later, you know, it's just been great.
And what's it like to do a heavy metal wedding?
Well, I've done a lot of them. I can say, first of all, there's a lot of hair involved usually. And everyone is different. You know, I've done some weddings that were very traditional and some that were definitely not. You know, some where the music is more of the kind of music you'd expect in a more traditional wedding, or done some where there's been actually heavy metal music, you know, for part of the ceremony too. So, but it's always interesting, and I've done, well, hundreds of weddings now, and it seems like they're all very unique.
Wow.
Definitely good stuff where that one goes, and then in a lot of ways. And Richard is having trouble. He did, however, say he does have. He did put up his questions in the chat room and everything too. So if we want to use those questions, we definitely can too.
Sure.
But let's see here. I do know Richard said a few things in the chat room. Richard, do you have the questions in the chat room? I am trying to get, actually, believe it or not, on my end of BTR, I am having an issue getting the switchboard to reload on me, so that may be part of the reason there.
Oh, I can bring him up.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and do that. I do have one question while we wait to see if we can get Richard.
Sure.
Is about you talked about one of the big things that you were a big part of pioneering in backwards masking and everything too, and what comes out of that. I wanted to know a little bit more about that one and everything too. You also said you have a lot of regret where that one goes too.
Yes, I do. Well, I think there are some of those things in life that we wish we would not have done. That's definitely one of them for me. And partly because I think I created a monster, and partly because I think that some of the things that I believed at that point I don't think are really true. And I guess that's the advantage of getting older, is that you get hopefully a little wiser as well. But I kind of started that whole backward masking thing with, playing Stairway to Heaven backwards and all of that. And there were some reasons that I did it, and we don't need to go through all of that, and for the sake of time, we won't. But I think I kind of created a monster. People started listening to all their albums backwards and making sure that they didn't have some kind of satanic message. And, we're all capable of having great imaginations, Bob. And with your mind, you can imagine all kinds of things. And I think it got into a lot of witch hunting, a lot of burning of albums, all those kinds of things. And I really do regret it at this point.
Yeah, I hear you where that goes. There was one person that actually did insist, that if you played a Christian song backwards, it would sound much different and everything, of whether their hearts really were. The one they primarily tried that with was Res Band and everything, and he went about saying, and then the key there is he went about saying, I'm like, this is what it says backwards, and he would say what it would say, and put up the words just so people can say, you know what, I heard that.
Exactly.
I closed my eyes to try and hear this and everything. I couldn't hear a thing. Now, I do admit there are some things you can find in backwards masking and everything, but at the same time, it's like...
Bob, the point is that you're going to know everything you really need to know about a band and the music simply by listening to the album forward. So
you're absolutely right.
Necessary. Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that one, too, and I couldn't agree with you more on that one. That's why, especially over the years, I grew up, the big thing that really brought me to God and everything, a lot of people like to say, I started doing it when I saw John Jacobs and the Power Team, which really wasn't true at all. It was after the youth church I was at actually played the movie Rock and Roll: A Search for a God. And,
oh, yeah.
And now that I got older and everything, I kind of look at that one and I even nitpicked that one, and I said, you know what? They come down on these rockers as people, and everything more so than realizing, that it is more spiritual. There's only one God, there's only one devil. And
right.
And, they got to look at it that way, and not look at them as a person, like they were judging the person, but judging what, instead, really judging more what the message is.
But Bob, don't you think that if Satan can get our minds on these little controversies, that he really is successful in getting us off of the track that we're really supposed to be on? And I think if he can get us arguing about these stupid little issues like this, like the backward masking or whatever it might be, then we really lose focus on what we're really here to do. And I've lost that focus several times in my life. And I think, they're just such non-issues. It's just not worth the time, is it?
The reality is it really isn't, and you're absolutely right where that goes.
Because he's a trickster. That's why.
Yeah. Kat, check out the switchboard. Richard actually called back in. So
I brought him back up.
I'm on the air. I think.
You are. Hello, Richard.
Hi there. Oh, so great to hear so far. Yep, I think there's a bit of a devil in all of us, and it's basically, if we don't hold to our willpower and hold to the word, that's the whole thing. The devil doesn't have to do anything anymore. It's us. And it's our choices that's going to determine everything. The backward masking, yes, I know. Bob told me about that. And as a joke, I just went to my music collection, which is, I don't know how many million songs. I pulled one out, Happy Boy. I don't know if you know that crazy little set red. And I played this backwards just as a joke. There he is, Bob of the drugs, chugga, 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 hubba, 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 get his belt. And I was like, it's just they're saying hubba, 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 and then it actually plays backwards. It just sounds like the drugs, but I was like, it's not. I mean, we can believe anything you want. It's all suggestion.
And that is the case, isn't it, Richard? Absolutely.
Yeah. I can make anything sound what you want me to think it is just by using suggestion. I tell people I'm a miracle worker and I can do something to the body and say, now all of a sudden your left arm's going to be itchy. Now I say that, and all of a sudden the person right next to me is standing and scratching their left arm. It's like, I've just said it. That's all I've done.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. So, Richard, I noticed a little bit of an accent there. Where are you from?
Australia.
Good for you. That's a great place to be from, isn't it?
Well, we're all upside down here, I guess, geographically, but we survive.
Yeah.
I mean, for me with the church, I mean, I was basically involved in an accident when I was 16. I was classed as a vegetable. We'll laugh at that one. I mean, I'm better than I was before the accident now, but I mean, around the time when the accident happened, I was like, I got the voice in my head. It's like you give it a second chance. You make a choice what you want to do with it.
Absolutely.
And I realised that voice wasn't coming from anyone around me, and that really got me thinking.
Sure. And so you realized that God was trying to get your attention.
Oh, he got it all right.
Yeah. That's great.
Definitely. It truly is so something there. I mean, it's interesting to listen to things backwards just to see. Oh, wait, I found this, I found that. And reality is, you probably really haven't found anything at all. It's just, again, and you don't need to, like you said, like Pastor Bob said here, you don't need anything that's going to really try to get you off track and everything. And and that's a lot of what happens and everything here too. And on a side note, Richard, here I am going to have to get with you after the show here because now my internet doesn't show up on any of my browsers. It says unable to connect to proxy server, so I'm going to have to get you on here, buddy. But on a more serious note and everything about this and everything too, it's Michael Sweet says it best. When someone chooses to deny things like that and everything, and they choose to take this route and everything, that's when you're supposed to love them more. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to love them by rewarding them, but you're
and that's the toughest part, isn't it? Because in my flesh, that usually causes me to walk away. But that's the greatest thing about being a Christian, and the greatest thing about receiving agape love from God is that agape love becomes very unconditional. It isn't something that I do naturally, but it's something that He does naturally through me. And so then I have this opportunity to love people in a way that I couldn't before. And I think that's just one of the bonuses of being a Christian, isn't it?
Oh, no, it definitely is.
Big amen there, and a big congratulations. Finally someone out there, other than myself, who will go and pick out the Greek words for love, rather than using love as just one generic word.
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of love, isn't there, Richard?
That's right. The Greeks got the market on that, and that's the thing. I mean, in the English language, someone just says love, and it's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, whereas I like how you just said agape love, when you're saying a specific type of love, whether it be a love of a person, whether it be a love of a group, whether it be a love of a child, or whether it be a love of the Lord.
Exactly. And that's that's the greatest kind of love that we experience, is the agape love that God gives us as Christians, and it really takes us beyond where our own love is capable.
Yeah, putting someone else before you, and I mean that's the thing. It's the hardest one to sort of to take that after the first time you do it. It's always the hardest challenge.
Yes, sure. Absolutely.
Oh, this has been awesome, Pastor Bob.
Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed spending time with you.
We've enjoyed having you.
Thank you. Well, let's do it again, Kat. You just let me know.
And Kat, I'll get you back on Skype here and everything, so you can see what you can arrange with Pastor Bob on your show with Chuck.
Yes, I sent the request to you, Pastor Bob.
Okay.
On Skype, so.
Great.
Yeah. So let's.
Well, we'll look forward to it then. And you guys, God bless what you're doing there. It's great to hang out with you this morning, and seriously, let's do it again sometime soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much for being our. Thank you so much for being our guest this morning and sharing your
thank you.
Your wisdom. And,
thank you.
And God bless you.
Thank you. Bye now.
All right, take care. All right, we'll end with some good here, Kat, and everything. Thank everyone for coming in. Check us out. Same time tomorrow. We'll be back down to 2 hours, and we'll talk to everyone.
Hey gang, Chuck Skull here. My buddy Larry's Vinyl Rock Source place to go if you're looking for hard to find albums or CDs. This month coming out, he has Bob Dylan, the complete album collection box set on CD, November 5th. The Beatles, On Air Live at the BBC, Volume 2 on CD and LP, November 11th. Black Sabbath, Gathered in Their Masses, DVD on November 22nd. And also, gang, for all you Velvet Underground Lou Reed fans, Larry has a lot of their stuff in stock right now. And remember, Larry's a collector as well, so he doesn't charge collector's prices. Check out Larry's eBay store, Vinyl Rock Source Mail Order, his Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Vinyl Rock Source Mail Order. Like the page, tell them the Wacko Network sent you.